A hyperbola is created very similarly to an ellipse as far as the definition. So we have 2 points, f1 and f2. We call those the foci of the hyperbola, and a fixed distance d. But with an ellipse, what we want is the distance from the 2 foci to each point. We add those 2 distances and we always get the same d. For hyperbola, we're going to take all the points where when we subtract the 2 differences, we get the same number. Okay, and here we say the absolute value of the difference, just because, well, if we take a smaller distance minus a bigger distance, we get a negative number. But we're looking at the difference being a constant number for a hyperbola. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch this, and we'll look at some key features. So we have kind of a center point where everything is kind of centered around. It's not part of the hyperbola, but it kind of creates it. And we've got our 2 foci. And we also have 2 vertices, okay? And those vertices, of course, are on the hyperbola. And the hyperbola kind of looks something like this, where we kind of wrap around the 2 foci, but now we wrap away from the from each other. And so we get 2 different branches, okay? Now, there's this, of course, is not a beautiful picture. It's kind of sloppy, but that's the general idea. Now, the way that we sketch these is we usually create this little box, and the box just helps us to kind of guide us as we draw, and we'll see kind of those where those come from in the equation of the hyperbola. But for now, we're just going to look at this. And what we do is we create out of this box, we look at the diagonals. And the diagonals of that rectangle actually form asymptotes for the function. Okay? And that actually helps to sketch it a little bit more cleanly, where when we draw a hyperbola, we can actually draw it kind of following that, the asymptotes. Okay, so like that on both sides. Now the different parts of this of the hyperbola we need to know. So we've of course got the center, and the center is this point right here. That's our center. The transverse axis is the line that connects the 2 vertices. Okay, it's the line segment, I should say. That's the transverse axis. The vertices, of course, are just those 2 points, the points closest to each other on the hyperbola. The asymptotes, of course, are those asymptotes that we drew. And then the conjugate axis is the line segment actually going perpendicular to the transverse axis that just connects the other sides of that box that we drew. So that's the conjugate axis.